where faith, inspiration, and storytelling come together to bring the Bible to life like never before. Our mission is to take you on a spiritual journey through the Bible's stories, from the creation in Genesis to the revelations of the end times. Welcome to Timeless Bible Journeys.
Have you ever faced a crossroads in life? A moment where you had to choose between comfort and uncertainty, between the familiar and the unknown? Maybe it was a career change, a big move, or a relationship that demanded more than you were prepared to give. Moments like these test us, shaping our character and defining our future. Now, imagine being in a foreign land, far from home, stripped of security and left with nothing but a choice. Stay where it's safe, or step into the unknown, trusting that something greater is ahead. This is the story of Ruth. A story of loyalty, resilience, and faith. A story that begins with heartbreak but ends in redemption. Ruth wasn't a queen, a prophet, or a warrior. She was an ordinary woman who made extraordinary choices. Choices that changed the course of history. And the lessons from her journey? They're just as relevant today as they were thousands of years ago. Because at its core, Ruth's story is about the power of faith, the beauty of commitment, and the unexpected ways in which life's hardships can lead to profound blessings. So, if you've ever wondered whether your struggles have a purpose, if you've ever questioned whether there's a bigger plan unfolding behind the scenes, then this story is for you. Before we dive in, take a moment to like this video, subscribe, and share your thoughts in the comments. What's a moment in your life where you had to take a leap of faith? Let's explore the life-changing lessons from Ruth's incredible journey. Ruth's story takes place during a dark period in Israel's history, a time of famine, uncertainty, and loss. Naomi, a woman from Bethlehem, moves with her husband and 2 sons to Moab in search of a better life. But tragedy strikes. Naomi loses her husband, and soon after, both her sons pass away, leaving her and her 2 Moabite daughters-in-law, Ruth and Orpah, in a vulnerable position. Heartbroken and weary, Naomi decides to return to Bethlehem. She urges Ruth and Orpah to stay behind in Moab, to rebuild their lives, to find new husbands. Orpah, though sorrowful, eventually agrees. But Ruth? Ruth refuses to leave Naomi's side. Her response is one of the most powerful declarations of loyalty in all of literature. Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God, my God. Ruth 1:16. And with that, Ruth embarks on an uncertain journey, leaving behind everything she's ever known. What can we learn from her story? The power of loyalty and commitment. Loyalty is a word we hear often, but what does it truly mean? Is it just about being there for someone when it's convenient? Or is it about standing firm, even when everything in life tells you to walk away? Ruth's story is one of extraordinary loyalty. Not the kind that is fleeting or conditional, but the kind that withstands hardship, uncertainty, and personal sacrifice. When Naomi urged Ruth to stay in Moab, to rebuild her life, to find security in what was familiar, Ruth had every reason to leave. She was young. She could have started over, remarried, and built a comfortable future for herself. No one would have blamed her for choosing the easier path. Orpah did, and she wasn't judged for it. But Ruth's loyalty wasn't about comfort. It wasn't about doing what was easy. It was about commitment. Her words to Naomi, "Where you go, I will go. Where you stay, I will stay. Your people will be my people, and your God my God," weren't just poetic sentiments. They were a declaration of complete devotion. She was choosing Naomi over her own security, choosing faith over fear, and choosing the unknown over the familiar. This kind of loyalty is rare. In today's world, commitment is often seen as something optional, whether in friendships, marriages, or even careers. When things become difficult, when the excitement fades or challenges arise, people are quick to walk away. It's easier to quit a job than to endure its struggles. It's easier to end a relationship than to fight for it. It's easier to turn away from someone in pain than to stay and carry their burdens with them. But Ruth's story teaches us that true loyalty isn't about what's easy. It's about what's right. Think about the people in your life. Who has been there for you, even in your darkest moments? Who has chosen to stay, even when they had every reason to leave? And more importantly, who have you been that person for? Loyalty isn't just about words, it's about action. Ruth didn't just say she was committed to Naomi, she proved it. He walked beside her, shared in her struggles, and took on the risks of an uncertain future. She had no guarantees of what awaited her in Bethlehem. She had no promise of prosperity, no assurance that life would get easier. But she stayed anyway. And because of that loyalty, Ruth's life was transformed in ways she never could have imagined. Her story reminds us that commitment, even when it's difficult, can lead to unimaginable blessings. It teaches us that standing by someone, even when the road ahead is uncertain, can open doors we never expected. So, ask yourself, where in your life are you being called to show true loyalty? Who in your life needs your unwavering support? Because in the end, the relationships that truly matter, the ones that stand the test of time, are built not on convenience, but on steadfast commitment. Embracing change and new beginnings. Change is one of life's greatest challenges. It can be uncomfortable, even terrifying, because it forces us to step away from what we know and venture into the unknown. But change is also necessary. It's the doorway to new opportunities, growth, and transformation. Ruth's story is a perfect example of what it means to embrace change, even when it's difficult. When she chose to leave Moab and follow Naomi to Bethlehem, she wasn't just moving to a new place. She was stepping into an entirely different culture, a different way of life, and a future filled with uncertainty. Moab was her home. It was where she had grown up, where her family was, where she understood the customs and traditions. Bethlehem, on the other hand, was foreign. She would be an outsider, a widow with no husband, no security, and no guarantee of acceptance. Yet, despite all of that, she chose to go. Many of us face similar crossroads in life. Maybe it's starting a new job, moving to a new city, ending a toxic relationship, or pursuing a dream we've been too afraid to chase. The uncertainty of change often holds us back. We worry about what could go wrong, about whether we'll fail, about leaving behind the comfort of what's familiar. But Ruth's journey teaches us that embracing change, even when it feels risky, can lead to something far greater than we ever imagined. She didn't know what awaited her in Bethlehem, but she stepped forward in faith. And because of that decision, her life took a path she never could have predicted. She went from being a poor, widowed outsider to becoming the wife of Boaz, a respected and wealthy man. She became the great-grandmother of King David, and ultimately a part of the lineage of Jesus Christ. If she had let fear hold her back, if she had chosen to stay in Moab because it was safer and more familiar, she would have missed out on the incredible future that lay ahead. Her story challenges us to ask ourselves, what changes are we resisting because we're afraid of the unknown? What opportunities are we missing because we're too comfortable where we are? Are we willing to take a leap of faith, even when we don't have all the answers? Growth doesn't happen in comfort zones. Sometimes, life requires us to leave behind what we know so we can step into something greater. Like Ruth, we may not see the full picture right now. The journey ahead might look uncertain, but if we have the courage to embrace change, to trust that something better is waiting on the other side, we might just find that our greatest blessings come from the risks we were willing to take. The value of hard work and humility. In a world that often glorifies instant success, Ruth's story stands as a reminder that true rewards come from hard work, perseverance, and humility. She wasn't born into wealth. She didn't inherit privilege. She had no special status in Bethlehem. Yet through her dedication and willingness to work hard, she transformed her life. When Ruth arrived in Bethlehem with Naomi, she had no guarantee of food, shelter, or security. As a foreign widow in ancient Israel, she was among the most vulnerable members of society. But instead of feeling sorry for herself or waiting for someone else to fix her situation, Ruth took action. She went into the fields to glean, picking up leftover grain that harvesters had missed. This was backbreaking labor reserved for the poor. It wasn't glamorous. It wasn't easy. But Ruth wasn't afraid to do what needed to be done. Her humility in accepting such work, despite the hardships, did not go unnoticed. Boaz, the wealthy landowner, saw her dedication and was impressed. He came into the field and has remained here from morning till now, except for a short rest in the shelter. Ruth 2:7. She worked tirelessly from sunrise to sunset, determined to provide for herself and Naomi. Her story teaches us a powerful lesson. Success isn't handed to us. It's earned through effort, persistence, and humility. In today's world, many people seek quick results. We want shortcuts to wealth, fame, and success. But Ruth's journey reminds us that true growth happens when we are willing to put in the work, even when it's difficult. Think about your own life. Are there areas where you need to be more diligent? Are there challenges that require perseverance rather than an easy way out? Beyond just hard work, Ruth also demonstrated deep humility. She didn't demand special treatment. She didn't complain about her circumstances. She simply did what was necessary, trusting that her efforts would lead to something greater. And because of her diligence, doors began to open. Boaz not only ensured she had enough food, but he also instructed his workers to leave extra grain for her to collect. Eventually, through a series of events guided by divine providence, Ruth went from a laborer in the fields to the wife of Boaz, a man of wealth and influence. Her story proves that humility and hard work are not in vain. They lay the foundation for unexpected blessings. So, ask yourself, are you putting in the effort required to reach your goals? Are you willing to work hard even when no one is watching? Do you approach challenges with humility, or do you expect instant rewards? Ruth's journey reminds us that the path to success isn't always quick or easy, but with perseverance and a humble heart, even the most difficult circumstances can lead to something extraordinary. Acts of kindness can change lives. Kindness is a simple act, yet it has the power to transform lives in ways we may never fully realize. In Ruth's story, kindness is not just a theme. It is the force that sets everything in motion, shaping her destiny in ways she never could have predicted. From the very beginning, Ruth demonstrates kindness through her unwavering devotion to Naomi. She chooses to stay by her mother-in-law's side, not out of obligation, but out of love. She willingly leaves behind her homeland, her culture, and the chance for a secure future in Moab to care for Naomi in Bethlehem. This act alone speaks volumes about Ruth's character. She prioritizes compassion over convenience. But kindness doesn't stop with Ruth. When she arrives in Bethlehem, she is a poor, foreign widow, an outsider in a land where she has no status or security. To survive, she humbles herself and goes to glean in the fields, collecting leftover grain to feed herself and Naomi. It is here that she encounters Boaz, a wealthy and influential landowner. Boaz, upon learning about Ruth's situation, does something remarkable. He doesn't just allow her to glean in his fields. He goes out of his way to ensure she is treated with kindness and dignity. He instructs his workers, "Let her gather among the sheaves and do not reprimand her. Even pull out some stalks for her from the bundles and leave them for her to pick up, and don't rebuke her." Ruth 2:15, 16. This may seem like a small act, but in that moment, Boaz changes Ruth's life. He provides her with security, protection, and abundance when she had nothing. He treats her not as a foreigner or a burden, but as someone worthy of kindness and respect. And that one act of kindness sets off a chain reaction. Ruth continues to find favor with Boaz, which ultimately leads to their marriage. Through their union, Ruth not only secures a future for herself and Naomi, but she also becomes a part of something much bigger. She enters the lineage of King David and, ultimately, Jesus Christ. What does this teach us? It shows us that kindness is never wasted. Boaz didn't help Ruth because he expected something in return. He helped her because it was the right thing to do. He used his position of privilege to uplift someone in need, and in doing so, he changed the course of Ruth's life forever. It also reminds us that small acts of kindness can lead to extraordinary outcomes. We may never know the full impact of a kind word, a helping hand, or a moment of generosity. But like Boaz, when we choose to be kind, we create ripples that can transform not only our own lives, but also the lives of others. So ask yourself, when was the last time you extended kindness to someone without expecting anything in return? Is there someone in your life who needs encouragement, support, or simply a reminder that they are valued? Ruth's story reminds us that kindness is powerful. It has the ability to change lives, open doors, and create a legacy that lasts for generations. And the best part? It costs nothing, but its impact is priceless. Faith and divine providence. Have you ever found yourself in a season of life where nothing made sense, where every door seemed to close, and you wondered if there was a greater purpose behind it all? Ruth's story is a powerful testament to faith and divine providence. The idea that even when we can't see the bigger picture, God is working behind the scenes, orchestrating events for a greater purpose. At first glance, Ruth's journey appears to be one of misfortune. She loses her husband, leaves her homeland, and arrives in Bethlehem as a poor widow with no prospects. By all worldly standards, her future looks bleak. And yet, through a series of seemingly ordinary events, she finds herself in exactly the right place at the right time. Take a closer look at the details. Ruth just so happens to glean in Boaz's field. Boaz just so happens to be a kinsman redeemer, someone with the legal ability to restore Naomi's family line. Naomi just so happens to recognize the opportunity and advise Ruth on how to approach Boaz. Boaz just so happens to not only redeem Ruth and Naomi, but also take Ruth as his wife, securing their future. From the outside, these moments may look like coincidences, but in reality, they are evidence of divine providence. God's unseen hand guiding Ruth toward a destiny greater than she could have imagined. This same providence is at work in our lives. We may not always recognize it in the moment, especially when we are struggling. But faith is about trusting that God is weaving our story together in ways we cannot yet understand. Ruth didn't know what would happen when she chose to follow Naomi. She didn't know that her hard work in the fields would lead her to Boaz. She didn't know that by trusting in God's plan, she would become part of the lineage of King David and ultimately Jesus Christ. But she moved forward in faith anyway. How often do we let fear hold us back because we can't see the outcome? How often do we question whether our struggles have meaning? Ruth's story reminds us that faith is not about having all the answers. It's about taking the next step, even when the path ahead is unclear. So ask yourself, Are there situations in your life where you need to trust in a greater plan? Are you willing to step forward in faith, even when you don't know what's next? Do you look back on past challenges and see how they ultimately led to something greater? God's providence is always at work, even in the smallest details of our lives. Ruth's story encourages us to trust that even in our most uncertain moments, we are being guided towards something extraordinary. Lessons to take away. Ruth's story is more than just an ancient narrative. It's a timeless reminder of the values that shape a meaningful and purposeful life. Her journey from loss to redemption teaches us that even in the darkest moments, faith, perseverance, and kindness can lead us to something greater. Loyalty is a choice, not an obligation. Ruth's unwavering commitment to Naomi shows us that true loyalty isn't based on convenience. It's about standing by those we love, even when times get tough. Embracing change can open doors to new beginnings. Leaving Moab was a risk, but Ruth's courage to step into the unknown led her to an incredible future. Sometimes, the things we fear the most are the very things that bring us closer to our purpose. Hard work and humility create opportunities. Ruth didn't wait for a miracle, she worked for it. Her diligence in the field set her on a path toward blessings she never could have imagined. Acts of kindness have a ripple effect. Boaz's generosity changed Ruth's life, proving that even the smallest gestures of kindness can transform someone's future. Faith means trusting the process, even when we don't see the full picture. Ruth couldn't predict how her story would unfold, but her trust in God's plan led her to a destiny greater than she ever imagined. Her story reminds us that no matter where we come from or what we've been through, our choices, our character, and our faith can shape a future filled with hope and purpose. So, what part of Ruth's story resonates with you the most? Let's continue the conversation in the comments below. And if this video inspired you, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Until next time, stay faithful and keep moving forward.